Going live, going live, going live. I don't want Facebook. You will be the death of me. Facebook. I think I'm going live in my event. I hope I'm going live in my event. I might set up the camera on my phone also. Hey, YouTube, welcome. Hey, Facebook, welcome. We're going to cook a chickpea tikka masala. My niece chose this dish. And I don't know if she's in Cholo. My father is not doing well, but hopefully he's getting better. So she's going up there to see him, and she will not be able to cook with us. And on that note, this is what I would love to tell you. Let me just see first if I can find this event, maybe add myself. I'm going to have... All right, hopefully... at least between my phone and my computer, we will have something going on here that people can see and enjoy. So I'm cutting off my head. I know that. I apologize. And why does this keep... Whoa. All right. Hopefully between my phone and the computer, we're seeing something here. This is what I also subtitled Chaos Kitchen. This is in my kitchen. I thought that I might have to be at work. We had some cases today scheduled at work. And I thought maybe I was going to have my Instant Pot and do this at work. We're going to do a chickpea tikka masala. Basically what I do is I go on the internet, I find something that looks interesting, I cook it. I usually change it around a little bit. If it has oil in it, I do it without oil. In my mind, forks over knives is more of the way that I'm trying to cook when I cook for myself. Don't always eat that way, but it is my opinion that the more processed oils that you can cut out of your life, the better, because you're finding them in most all the food you're eating anyway. So with the tikka masala, the first step is we're going to turn on the stove over here. We're going to get that crankin. Get this hot. It's basically just my pan over here. Got a little bit of water in it. Sometimes I use vegetable stock. So on the show, when I cook, and if you cook with me, I'm going to ask you if I can modify it to where it doesn't have oil, or we make two versions. So my friend Gina was on here before. We made a couple salad dressings, I believe, when we did a salad with her, because I did it oil-free version. So anyway, whether you're following a Mediterranean diet or some sort of diet where you do have some meat in your diet, I would call that an omnivore, or you're completely trying to go mostly all vegetables. Do I sometimes eat some cakes that my wife makes? And do they have some cream and some eggs and some stuff that is not good for me? Absolutely. But for the most part, especially when I cook for myself, I'm trying to be all plant all the time. So I also talk a little bit about the hierarchy of health. So the most healthy is stuff like this, the whole veggie, right? So this recipe calls for one large onion. So I've got 3 samples of kind of what's an onion. A shallot is not necessarily just an onion, but they're all in the same class of families. Got a purple onion, a white onion, and a shallot. So I'm going to dice those up, and let me see if I can turn these. Goodbye head. We're going to just kind of watch as I fumble through dicing up a few onions here. And try not to, I'm trying to talk and not cut off my fingers. So I hope you appreciate that. So I've also got a timer in the background here, because especially when I'm talking, I lose track of time. So the best way for cooking is you want stuff kind of a uniform thickness. And guess what? This is by no means a uniform thickness. So sometimes that's okay. But the veggies will cook different. They will not necessarily have the same crispness when you cook them if you have varying thicknesses on your cuts. And as you can tell, I'm not the best knife person. I've practiced a little bit. I do like a really thick blade when I cook, because I feel that I have a little more control over not cutting my fingertips off. And because I'm vegan, I don't want to eat any of my own blood. Plus, guess what? I don't want to bleed. So we're going to try to get through this quickly so that I can start just getting this stuff into the pot here in the background and get that started going. We're also, with that onion, we're going to add a teaspoon of cumin seed. Now, I think we've talked about this before. I kind of follow the Rachel Ray method of measuring. I'm just going to use a small spoon for a teaspoon. I'm going to use a large spoon. She uses her hand, so it's not exactly like Rachel Ray. Let's be clear about that. We don't want Rachel Ray listening to our video, which she probably won't, and correcting us. So what I'm going to tell you is Rachel Ray uses her hand. It's a very imprecise method. And what I would suggest with you is with cooking, you don't have to be as precise. Baking, my wife is an amazing baker. And guess what? You have to be very, very precise in your measurement with baking, or you're going to have something completely different than what you thought. You may have a croissant when you thought you were going to have white bread. The consistency will be very different. So baking, it's much more important that you have the right consistency. But with cooking, it's about the flavor. You can learn the flavors that you like, the spices that you like, by experimenting and learning. Like, I know that I love pepper. I probably love pepper more than most people. And if you're eating my cooking that I'm making for myself, the pepper level may be too much for you. So this is going to be an imprecise dice because I don't want you to wait here while I basically cut everything to a very precise dice. And I think it might be a little boring for you. I try to talk a lot. I have a slow brain, so cooking and talking at the same time. That's why I enjoy cooking with others, because I can do one or the other. Maybe you're talking. Maybe you're the one that's cutting while I'm talking. Doesn't matter. Like I said, I enjoy it more when I have somebody with me cooking. But since my niece is unavailable this week, we're going to still get the show done. My commitment is I'm doing everything in my power to get the show every Saturday, regardless what comes up. And that's how I've been trying to do this thing. So once again, the biggest thing is Mark doesn't chop a fingertip off, even though I'm sure I have some people out there that would love to see that. That is what we are trying to not do. So this, I also had the rice pre-made because I thought I was going to have to do this at work with an Instapot. So my wife made rice. She used brown rice and quinoa. I don't know if you're familiar with quinoa. Here's one of the caveats. I think if you're in the Facebook group, you may have seen a little bit of talk back and forth about arsenic being in rice. So rice can have some arsenic in it. So you got to be careful with rice, and you got to soak rice. You got to boil rice for a good amount of time. And the thing is with rice, you're going to lose a little bit of the phytonutrients when you do that. So sometimes that's another thing that I propose on this channel is you get a lot of variations in veggies in your diet. Whole grains are amazing. Sprouted grains are amazing. Christian's over here telling us what we're doing wrong. Hey, buddy, how are you? Did you have fun at the park? I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Are you my big buddy head? Look at this. Dicing. Like, yeah, get your fingers out of there, because if I cut them, they're going to hurt. You don't want a cut finger, do you, buddy? I don't want you to have a cut finger. Yeah, that would be a big medical bill. And it would hurt you. Even more importantly, come on, Mark, get your priorities correct. Hey, my phone went down. I don't know if Facebook is gone or not, because I think I have you both on the computer and the phone, but I'm not sure. I am not sure. Kimberly Soto Green, thank you for joining us. Do you have any questions? What kind of diet do you follow? I would suggest that whatever diet you follow, if you can get a few more fresh veggies, plants, seeds, mushrooms, fruits. It can hurt nothing. And what I'm trying, my biggest job, I feel, is I'm just trying to get you to like some. Think about putting some more in your diet. Not changing your diet necessarily. Have I changed my diet over time? Yes, absolutely. Did I used to love meat? Absolutely. I still would love the flavor of meat. Part of my goal is I'm a father, I'm an old father, and I would like to see my kids grow up and see some of the milestones in their lives. So I'm trying to stay as healthy and functional as I can for as long as I can before my expiration date. I don't know what your purpose in eating. Maybe your purpose is simply flavor. And so even if I could just find a way to get better flavors in the veggies that you're eating, I think I've accomplished what I'm trying to do. Like I said, that's what I'm trying to do. Can I find a way to encourage you to find some fresh veggies or veggies that are a little bit higher on the hierarchy of health, as I would call it? Then I feel like I've accomplished a lot. And I can tell that this has taken me longer than what I thought it would and really wanted it to. But I want to get a nice dice on these because we're just trying to not caramelize. What's the word I'm looking for? Where it become translucent with the cooking. Some people do this with oil. I am not doing it with oil. Once we get this a little bit more chopped, we're going to basically go over. And like I said, I do enjoy different consistencies, flavors. So sometimes when things are not cut 100% the same size, I'm okay with that. But I also know that I like onions. I like onions in all shapes, and I'm not as hardcore as my grandfather. My grandfather would eat an onion like an apple, just to bite into it. I am definitely not as hardcore as he was. So let's take a look over here. Woo! This is going to be hot. This water is going to go away quickly. We're going to turn this down a little bit. We're going to turn the vent fan on. We are going to put the onions in the pan. I need to get one of those cutting boards that you can bend up much quicker here. Here's a little trick too. When you add water, it kind of slows the cooking process down. So if you're finding that your food is cooking a little too fast, you can just pour a little bit of water in there. That'll slow the cooking process down. It'll cool it off. All right, we're going to use our hands a little bit here. We're going to get some of this stuff off of the cutting board because my methods are not efficient right now. We're trying to be a little bit more efficient because we're trying to get you guys some information and some entertainment all at the same time. So I don't know if we're doing that. So feedback is always welcome. Don't make me cry too much, although I'm not too sensitive. So, wow, here's my problem. I may have too small of a little stock pot right here, but that's all right. We're going to make it work. So before the show started, we're also going to put basically a teaspoon of these here cumin seeds in. Maybe a little more than a teaspoon. Not a problem. So, like I said, basically on the show, we use kind of the Rachel Ray method, and we just guess. We just guess, basically. So, in the recipe, it says that you're supposed to put those in there 5 to 7 minutes. So we're going to put our little timer at 5 minutes. We're going to keep talking. We're also going to start getting some of the other ingredients ready. calls for 4 to 5 garlic cloves, 2 inches of ginger, right? So this ginger's been in the fridge for a little bit longer than probably it needs to. With the ginger, especially if you get the whole thing, it's got a really hard outer core, not that tasty. We're going to get rid of most of that here. This is going to be more of a minced, or I don't know what happened with the Acer, just turned off. All right, not a problem. So with the onions, I had already taken off what I call the paper, the outer part that you don't really need is going to create. Most people are not going to like the flavor of the outer covering of a garlic or an onion. So right now, once again, I'm getting off what I cut. Hey, and if you're a professional cook and you know the real names for some of the stuff that I am slaughtering, what it's really called, feel free to let us know, especially in the comments. That would be great, right? So I by no means am a professional cook. I used to cook a lot more. My wife is an amazing cook, so she cooks most of the time. I'm trying to get away from oil some of the time, so I've been experimenting with dishes that are no oil, extreme, hardcore, what I call forks over knives. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys. The Esselsteins and some other people, some of their thoughts on nutrition and avoiding some of the major diseases like diabetes and strokes and heart attacks and some of the #1 killers in the industrialized world. And I kind of agree with them. And so I follow that diet most of the time. And we're going to just kind of try to cut these a lot thinner. I know we need to get some people in here to help me out to do some of this camera work so that you can actually see. I'm going to move the cameras down a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. No. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I think somebody's having to go to bed. You might hear some. That's not my fan base out there that's crying. That's my son. So I think he's going down for a nap. So you might hear a little bit of crying in the background. And that's what this is all about. Like I said, I call it Chaos Kitchen. You're in my kitchen while I'm cooking. And maybe other places. I've cooked in a hotel. I've cooked in a car. Not really cooked. More like organized a salad. Even today, I had some stuff pre-cooked for me. I did not cook the rice and the quinoa. And so this dish is typically served over rice, I think, in India. You could use any whole grain. Sometimes it's cool to just kind of experiment with some of the grains that you like. I think in the past we made some sort of Middle Eastern type dish, and they used freekeh. I don't know if you've ever heard of freekeh. Another whole grain that is pretty amazing. So you kind of get an idea of the mincing. I'm going to bring this back up so you can see my face. So pretty, my face. It is. And so, but we're just, like I said, I'm just talking about what I think is what I call the hierarchy of health. And the more whole grains, veggies, fruits, seeds, nuts, mushrooms, plants, basically, I think the healthier you can be, it's going to help with your gut microbiome. It's going to help with all sorts of things that you might not even think about, like your I wanted to say disposition, your mood, how you feel, how you interact with the world. It might help with your mental health. There's a lot of research been saying that, hey, the gut microbiome, and how do you get a good gut microbiome? You have a lot of fiber in your diet. You have a lot of what I would say is just a bunch of different veggies, fruits, nuts, berries. Berries are fruit, isn't it? So the more that kind of stuff that you can get into your diet, I think the more experimental you can be. I also love to explore different cultures' foods. So the more that I can do with that, like especially if you're like from some foreign country and your family has an amazing recipe and you would like to come in here and share it with me, I would love to cook it with you. So that's kind of my jam, my gig, what I like to do. So we're going back to the hierarchy of health. Let's talk a little bit about what I consider the hierarchy of health. I'm going to try to get as much of this really thick brown stuff off of this ginger, because I think there's a certain level of fiber, but too much, baby, is too much. Now, ginger is very good for your health also. I think it's good for your digestion. There's a lot of other things I've read, but I couldn't tell you anything more than it's good for your digestion off the top of my head. So we're going to get a little bit of this ginger going. We're going to talk a lot. Once again, it'd be more fun for me if you were here with me. So we could do that virtually. We could do that in person. We could do that. Maybe we could start some retreats where we go different places. That would be really cool, in my opinion. Hey, man, let's meet you wherever. We invite a bunch of other people. They can cook with us, or at least learn about nutrition and health, and how, to me, the biggies are diet, movement, sleep, breathing / relaxation. So those are kind of the four things that I try to focus on. Am I perfect at it? No. Do I try to get better? And I have a lot more knowledge than necessarily what I practice too. So is alcohol the best thing for you? No. Would I be healthier if I drank no alcohol? Absolutely. Will you catch me drinking a beer or Mike's Hard Lemonade or something every once in a blue moon? Absolutely. Maybe as I get a little more dedicated to losing a little bit of weight around my waist, maybe I'll stop drinking for a while or decide what that looks like. Maybe some intermittent fasting from probably not even a word, but let's make it a word. So I'm going to take a couple of these gingers. I'm going to get them minced really nice and thin. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the ginger and garlic at it for a couple more minutes after the timer goes off. Then, once again, going back to the hierarchy of health, canned beans are not the best in my opinion, but having said that, for convenience sake, guess what we're using? Canned beans. So I really like to make beans from scratch. I haven't done it a lot, but I'm trying to do it more and more. I usually soak my beans for at least 6 hours if I can. At least 6 hours. Beans have lectins in them. Lectins are not your friend. So you want to cook them thoroughly. You want to rinse them. You want to soak them if you're using dry beans before you use them. I'm trying to get this ginger done here before this timer goes off so I can just throw all this into the pot also. So I'm just using whatever I can get cut before that little timer goes off, which I think basically it's off. So I'm going to get this cut super fine, as fine as I can. Then we're going to throw that into that pan. And I know this show has been a little bit more boring than when my niece is here because she's doing some stuff in the background while I'm talking. And so a lot of times I can think and talk a little easier than I can think, talk, and cook at the same time. And if that's a problem, let me know in the comments, man. So I can start making the show more valuable to you, right? Like, so I want to provide some value to you. I want you to enjoy this show. I want you to have fun in this show. I want you to learn, like, hey, maybe this is something I'm willing to try. And maybe it'll be beneficial to my health. And this Mark guy is crazy, but at least he's a little bit fun to watch. And I hope that it's not because I'm the vaudevillian who's cutting my fingertips off, right? We've already talked about All right, Mark. Old joke. All right. This is all we're going to do. We've got our minced stuff. We're going to put that for a couple more minutes. We're going to get a spoon. I'm going to turn the heat down just a tiny bit. We're going to scrape some of this stuff off the sides. So we could just go buy some tikka masala, but like I said, a lot of times what I like to do is stay away from some of the processed stuff, learn how to cook my own self. So let's talk a little bit about can. The biggest problem with can is the lining inside of the can. So in the past, they had this part, which was BPA, good at disrupting a lot of your hormones, enzymes, and different things, right? So not the greatest. So once this is done cooking, we're going to add us some spices to this. Some garam masala, which is kind of like some paprika, turmeric, some other stuff. The garam masala, we need a heaping teaspoon. Let's go ahead and get a spoon. I don't think I have one out here. What was I thinking? All right, so a teaspoon to me is just the smaller of 2 spoons. A lot of the spoons come like this. We have some garam masala. We are going to put us a heaping teaspoon of that. We're going to add some turmeric. The turmeric, we're going to need 1.5 teaspoons of that. We got us some turmeric. The nice yellow stuff. 1.5. That's 1.5. Perfectly measured. Don't you know? We're going to add us some cayenne. Cayenne is 1.5 to 1. So this one, be careful, it's hotter. I'm going to do a little lighter than that than what I did. So this is Indian based, so they love their spices in India. And we're going to cook that 1 and 2 more minutes. Then we're going to add the tomatoes on that. We got 2 cans of diced tomatoes. You can dice your own tomatoes. And once again, hierarchy of health, diced tomatoes that you dice yourself are much better for you than what I'm doing today. So we've got just a couple of cans of diced. This one is actually with green pepper, celery, and onions. So more for like a traditional Mexican dish. But there you go. We're going to just dump that in the pan here in a tiny bit. Yeah, tiny bit is now. So we got some tomatoes. 2 cans. You can dice your own. Be even better. 14 ounces. 2 cans. Diced tomatoes. I like low salt usually when I'm cooking for myself. How long do we do that? We cook for 4 minutes more. 4 minutes with the tomatoes in there. I'm going to take this and just incorporate everything all together. I wish we had a little bit of smell-o-vision so you could know what that was. Then we're going to add the tomato paste. The tomato paste I just have. I like the ones that come in tubes. Aluminum maybe isn't as good for you as, but once again, we've talked a little bit about that, the hierarchy of health. A lot of this I cheated because I knew I might be cooking at work. So if you could make your own tomato paste from scratch, that would be amazing. But I'm cheating, and I'm making it more convenient. A lot of that I did because of the possibility that I might be cooking from work. Where is the coriander? I thought you were supposed to put some coriander in there. I'm going to put coriander in there because it asks for it, but it doesn't really say in the instructions when to do that. So we're going to just add a little bit of coriander. I'm going to mix that up a little bit. And this also has coconut milk in it. I'm also going to put, I love mushrooms with everything. So just a little bit of Trader Joe called umami based on mushrooms and some other stuff in there. Not as much of that. So I'm going to stir that around a little bit. Black pepper is always my friends. We're going to add black pepper. Probably not the most Indian spice, but okay. I'm going to let the tomatoes break down a little bit. So we might go just a little bit more than 4 minutes in here. I've got this on my stove about a 7 gas stove. I like gas because it has a lot of variability. You can change it quickly. The temperature will change immediately as you turn the knob. So the next is tomato paste, chickpeas, coconut milk. Then you cover it, and we're not going to eat this today, but we will show you pictures on the Facebook group, Poppin the Plant Flavor, just like it is on YouTube, and you can see what the final dish looks like. Lexi Williams, thanks for joining. Appreciate you, and if you cook, I would love you on the show. So we're going to let that go for just a little bit longer. Then we're going to add 2 cans of chickpeas, which I've rinsed. I don't leave the liquid that it comes with in it. So I've got 2 cans of chickpeas. Once again, like I said, if I were doing the show and I weren't the possibility of getting paged, look at that 80s technology to work, then I would be not cutting some of the corners that I'm cutting here, and that's not a problem. But I'm just telling you what I would do. So chickpeas, coconut milk, then 25 to 30 more minutes. I won't have you stay here for that. My wife made some amazing rice with quinoa, brown rice. She made it last night because I had one Instant Pot, and I don't know how to make a chicken masala or a chickpea masala and rice at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and put the chickpeas in there. Like I told you, I rinsed and drained the chickpeas. And this is going to cook for about 25, 30 more minutes from this point forward. If there's any questions, I would love to answer them. I love full coconut milk with cream and everything. I don't know how to get it without getting it in a pan. And once again, like I told you, the hierarchy of health, pan is not my favorite storage method, but you know what? Don't let it deter you from eating something healthy like coconut milk. We're going to stir this around. We're going to bring the heat down to, on my stove, a 5 and get it to a simmer. So we don't want it boiling over, but we do want it simmering. And questions. Once we finish this sauce with the chickpeas, we're going to serve it over a bed of rice. We are going to put some cilantro over the top of that. Maybe you don't like cilantro, or there's a lot. I can't remember. There's a genetic component of people that don't like cilantro. I don't know what the percentage of the population that is, but some people hate cilantro. I forgot the tomato paste. We're going to put that in there. The tomato paste is supposed to be 2 tablespoons. That, my friends, is 2 tablespoons. We're just going to put the timer on for 25 minutes. We're going to let you go about your Saturday. I would love to see you next Saturday. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to post them in the Facebook group or in the chats section on YouTube, and let us know your thoughts, how you would improve the show, if you would come on the show and cook with me, and we will see you next Saturday. Have a great one. Todd Bailey, I'm coming after you. I don't know what day we're cooking. Tony, I'm coming after you. Let's cook together. Aaron, come back to me. Gina, let's cook. Have a great day. Talk soon. Bye. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye. Facebook, if I could figure out how